They're retiring or they're gone, meaning deceased. Pretty shocking reveal from Joseph Blount, and unfortunately representative of a much larger problem for our society. We don't have enough people who are learning hard skills, trade skills. Instead, we push young people into a broken and poisoned system of higher education that has proven incredibly inept at preparing them to live productive lives in the real world. The worst part is that we taxpayers are actually paying for this cultural rot. Now listen, even if you don't have children in school, every taxpayer in America is subsidizing these corrupt institutions, many of which they harbor a deep disdain for our republic. The government watchdog group OpenTheBooks published a landmark analysis of just how much taxpayer money flows to the 8 elite universities of the Ivy League. Over the period of 6 years, from 2010 to 2015, we taxpayers paid out $40 billion in benefits. $25 billion of that went to direct grants, an actual cash giveaway for those schools to pay for various projects and research studies. Now, what kind of research, you might ask? Well, the University of Pennsylvania, they received $334,000 to, quote, test a Latino web-based parent-adolescent sexual communication intervention. Whatever the hell that means. The other roughly $15 billion flows mostly via very substantial tax exemptions, especially from gains on their massive endowments. And that's also part of the story. These 8 schools put together, they have endowments totaling over $100 billion. They don't need 1 cent of our money, but they'll sure take it, and they are. The higher education racket is extremely lucrative for tenured professors and for crony administrators. Penn, the school that is researching the Latino web parent adolescent sexual whatever, has 30 employees who make more money than the President of the United States, over $400,000 a year. Just how much money do we give to the Ivy League for comparisons? Let's get to a chalk talk. And Patriots, I want to put this in context because I think when we talk about federal budgets, they are so gigantic, billion here, trillion there, sometimes your eyes may glaze over, especially if you're not particularly mathematically inclined. So let's put it in context and in comparison. So the Ivy Leagues are getting, on average, $4.3 billion per year to only 8 schools, 8 relatively small, extremely wealthy schools. Now, let's compare that to how much federal money goes to the states, because a lot of the taxes that we pay into Washington, D.C., thankfully, some of it does come back to the states that we reside in various transfer payments. But however, there are 16 states in the United States that get less money than the 8 schools of the Ivy League. And I list them here. If you live in the Dakotas or Hawaii or Idaho or Utah or Kansas, your state is getting less money than the Ivy League. And I want to highlight one in particular, Nevada. Nevada gets $3.9 billion in federal transfers, again, substantially less than the $4.3 billion that is going to the Ivy League. Nevada, by the way, has almost 3 million people. Nevada is a substantial state, obviously. Now, it's also not just the Ivy League that's cashing in. In the most recent COVID bill, nearly every college in America qualified for a massive $21.2 billion giveaway, just straight cash. These schools, they're increasingly becoming toxic playgrounds for warped characters to indoctrinate our young people, creating overgrown children who do not have any real skills or even the toughness of spirit, the grit, to become solid citizens and inspiring leaders.